Welcome to Building Innovation Protopias, Crecimiento, hosted by Architect Systems and Edge City. My name is James.
And I'm Janine.
Very excited that you're all spending your Monday afternoon talking about Innovation Protopias. Very briefly, a set of things that we're going to talk about today. Janine and I are going to sort of just set the stage and basically frame what we mean when we say Innovation Protopias. We'll hear from Juan and Emmy talking about the opportunity Argentina has right now and what Crecimiento is specifically trying to achieve. We'll talk about the unique regulatory sandbox we're establishing in the city of Buenos Aires, which is very, very exciting. We'll hear about the next wave of Argentine startups. We'll have a panel discussion with some of the founders from Argentina on what excites them about Argentina today and specifically Crecimiento. And then we'll talk specifically about the pop-up that's happening in August, which I encourage everybody here to attend. And I'm looking forward to seeing many more faces back in Buenos Aires. We'll have time to network and catch up at the end. And then there's a happy hour with Protocol Labs from 6:30 for those who are signed up. So, setting the stage, what are we talking about when we talk about building innovation protopias? We're talking about how we can explore a global network of hubs that foster startups, accelerate tech innovation, and ultimately transform economies through sustainable crypto-led and powered growth. If you take a big step back and you look back at the history of innovation and growth over the past 70 years to 100 years, technology has driven the largest scale of prosperity in the planet in the history of humanity. And that's resulted in huge digital tech growth, integrated circuit chips with Moore's law doubling every year and even more now, global GDP rising, trade flows going bananas, poverty coming down. Like technology has been the epicenter of that growth. And you just need to look at the US and about how much of the GDP of the growth has been from technology. If you get into how innovative economies are and you look at a number of different metrics from how much an economy spends as a percentage of their GDP on R&D, look at the number of patents, the number of startups and how dense the startups are, how many investment funds there are and more, you can sort of measure how innovative an economy is. And Argentina ranks sort of in the middle towards the end on a lot of these metrics, but is in a very unique position to completely leapfrog a lot of these other economies through crypto. Now, tech companies come from startups, specifically from really strong startup funnels. Now, and there's a number of economies around the world who've taken concrete steps towards establishing these sort of startup and technology zones. You know, things like Hub 71 in Abu Dhabi, Japan, Malaysia, Estonia, other places are sort of like pushing at the frontiers of what this could be, but none have really unlocked this, and none have really unlocked it through crypto and what crypto can enable, hence why everybody is in this room. It's basically a portfolio approach this problem. There's a massive top of the funnel that is needed to get to big technology companies that then have that impact on growth. And if you look at the US and you get to somewhere between 80 to 100 late stage companies, so a company that has a market cap of at least 100 billion, you need about 10 million projects that are trying to become startups. And they come through that funnel all the way through to the end. You need lots of experimentation. So people say we've got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of startups. That won't make it. You need even more to get to this level of wealth creation and growth that will then trickle back down. Now, if you then look at it by vertical and you look at technology and AI, and you look at somewhere by the US, which is largely like the best use case that we should be looking through as an economy, well, for crypto, the US has been regressing, which means there's a real opportunity for a number of other economies around the world to seize that opportunity. Now, there's countries like Japan and South Korea who are very good at the beginning and a bit good at the end, but not in crypto. And I think Argentina is uniquely positioned to be able to seize that opportunity, given we now have top-down and bottom-up support. What do you need for crypto-led innovation? Well, you need a number of things. This is not exhaustive, but you need startups, you need investors, you need like the right regulatory environment within which to operate. You need a set of really strong physical and digital infrastructure. You need networks, and then you need actually an innovation culture, a culture of entrepreneurship that permeates the entire ecosystem. There's lots of examples of how this happens around the world. I won't go into them now, but if you sort of take best practice across the world and you apply that in Argentina in a localized context, you stand like a really good opportunity. Argentina has not historically had top-down support. Now, under President Milei and a lot of the political changes that have happened more recently towards that, I think there's a really good opportunity now to like piece together the amazing grassroots and bottom-up support that Argentina has had and generated over the last decade to support that. Innovation systems are really interesting because we're increasingly changing from like historic innovation translation systems, what we've had from like ARPA and the US government about 100 years ago when you had like war was the incentive alignment there, through to Bell Labs, historically very successful in innovation through YC. It's what we've built at Protocol Labs. And increasingly this New Cities and Cultural Movements initiative, which I think everybody in this room is really passionate about. And I'm going to hand over to one of the world-leading experts on it, in Janine, to tell us more about why that's exciting.
Awesome. So who in this room, yay, got some energy going, great. Who in this room has heard about a pop-up city or pop-up village? Okay, great. We've got a room of believers in this new sort of concept. So this was actually originally empty in this sort of like middle area. Balaji had this chart up in his network state book, and this idea of like, well, we've seen a lot of conferences, we've seen a lot of meetups, and that sort of happens in this like 1 day to 1 week range. That's thousands of people. And then on the other side, humans have done universities, cities, and towns, and states, and countries really well. Like we've done that for years. But there's sort of this middle zone of 2 months, or like a month to 6 months of time period, with the like 100 to 2,000 range of people that we haven't done a ton of experimentation with until we started Zuzulu last year. So Zuzulu was the first of its kind pop-up city, and it was a 2-month-long experiment that brought together 200 people for the full 2 months and about 800 visitors throughout the time there. Since Zuzulu, there has been a number of different pop-up villages and pop-up cities that have happened. Vitalia happened earlier this year, the Mu, we've got Manon over here from the team, and Santi, who built that both in Chiang Mai and then another one in Argentina earlier this year. And then Edge City, we just did one, Edge Esmeralda, in Healdsburg, California, where we had 1,200 people come through over the course of the month. And ultimately, what we've been looking at is like, why is this thing valuable? Like, why are the ideas of pop-up cities this new sort of wave of excitement to drive this like techno-optimistic future and like serious areas of innovation? One big piece of it is this idea of scenius, which is collective genius and like a scene around genius. And how can we bring a lot of people together where ideally you've got people together for an extended period where they're in close collaboration and in close proximity over the course of that time to ping pong a ton of ideas. Like something that I've explained when talking about pop-up cities and pop-up villages as a whole is this concept of you've almost got an open container where each person is coming in as their own individual atom that has a dull light and moves kind of slowly, but they start to move around and they interact with one another. And as they interact, they get brighter and they move faster until we've got this just total hub of collective genius and ideas ping-ponging with one another, and a ton of room for experimentation over the course of that 2-month-long period. What does it look like if we keep prolonging that a little bit further? So all of a sudden you're turning what we have now in cities, where like cities are the densest place to have a lot of innovation happen. How can we get a smaller number of people together, but in closer proximity for a like dense amount of time that really drives these scenius hubs into the future? And why is it valuable? What we've seen is that like these could be the future of innovation hubs in some capacity. There's an opportunity to really stimulate a startup ecosystem in a place. So as James just spoke about Argentina being a spot where like it's very favorable for crypto and it's very favorable for crypto startups. What could we do if we don't just promote like, oh, there's an opportunity here, but on top of it, we create a pop-up city for a short period of time that really stimulates the startup ecosystems that's there to help try and sustain it for a longer period after. There's another aspect of it, which it's providing some economic leverage. And there's the funding efficacy and just the ROI on the amount that's going into running these pop-up cities is way better than conferences. So for example, putting on a conference like this, some conferences that are for 5,000 people for 3 days are around the range of $20 to $30 million. A pop-up village can be around $2 million for the full month or 2-month period, which is just a significant difference. And people can double down during that period on the actual products that they're working on. So we're really excited about this opportunity to think about these protopias as a new movement around pop-up cities and pop-up villages that can drive innovation and startup ecosystems in different countries around the world. And on that note, I'm going to hand over to Juan Bennett from Protocol Labs. He's the founder of Protocol Labs, which has spun off so many different technologies that we have around Filecoin and IPFS, and have built an entire ecosystem very similar to kind of taking YC and then driving it into sort of a more decentralized network of projects. And then I'm going to hand it over to Emmy, who has been leading the Crecimiento movement down in Argentina and working tirelessly to actually build a pop-up that's going to happen in August that hopefully everyone here is going to be at. So Emmy, over to you.